tryna climb, devil threw me in the dark. Baby, don't be insecure, you can still go make a mark like blow. Could never let them drain my soul now. Blow. Tables turning like doorknobs, wow. Blow. I think I'm about to set sail. I'm a walking, living legend, walking with my chest out. Life keep dealing me cards, I keep feeling it.
What's going on, people? What's going on? It's G. We are back in the building. Guys, hope you are doing well. Hope you are blessed. Make sure, as per usual, you are smashing that like button, sharing and subscribing to the damn channel. Why are we here? Now, of course, it's been the Euros and, of course, Copa America has now started. So I've kind of stayed away a little bit from, the Liverpool stuff, because it's been kind of boring. There's nothing really going on with Liverpool. Heck, we've got a manager who doesn't even want to be talking to us. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, man, I try to kind of stay away, so to speak, in terms of like transfer news and gossip, because if I'm being honest, there isn't really anything substantial, really out there. But, I've got a few videos. and I've got a few things out there in regards to Liverpool. And of course, they will start to kick on as the season, or as the preseason, should I say, takes full effect. But for the time being, today's video, and you guys can, of course, you can see in the caption, you saw the thumbnail as well. I was looking at like players to keep stock in, players that you should put your money where your mouth is, so to speak, in regards to how I think potentially they may do next season, or even just beyond, players that I've looked at so far in the current squad. And I've tried to steer away from players who look like who may potentially leave the football club or stay at the football club or whatever the case may be. More players that I think, okay, yeah, they will, I'm more than confident that they'll be here next season and beyond, of course. And I just feel like these are the kind of players that we should just, whether or not like you put enough money into these guys, whether or not you think that these guys can be, the top players and things like that, that of course it all remains to be seen, so to speak. But for me, it's just more about just trying to see, which players I believe out there can potentially, be a main starter in the team, or if not even a main starter, just, someone in the team, that we can potentially rely upon, moving forward for next season. And of course, beyond that. So that's why I've got 5 players, and I've got one extra player that we'll talk about, at the end as well. So let's start. We'll start off with this player, actually, because this one's probably more controversial than anything. And that's obviously Dominic Szoboszlai. Dominic Szoboszlai, of course, signed for us at the beginning of the 23-24 season during that summer for a release clause fee. Can't remember what it was, like 60 mil or something like that. Very good player, man. Very, very good player. Did not have a good season, though, in my personal opinion. Started off okay, so to speak. Was really, really, I say he started off good. When he joined Liverpool, there was all this Steven Gerrard shout, the Hungarian Gerrard, and I'm gonna keep saying it. Unfortunately, people, like, for all of those people out there who was calling him that it's gonna have to stick. Do you know what I mean? It's definitely gonna have to stick. But he is a decent player, and from what we saw. And of course, we can only really base it off the things that we saw when he was at, RB Leipzig, at Salzburg, for Hungary and stuff like that. If you compiled all of that evidence, there was a good player in there, a really, really good player. And I just think that whether you want to say misprofiling him, part to that, so yeah, not really had a good season, if I'm being totally honest with you. And he's definitely going to want to rectify that for next season moving forward. Now, of course, we're going to have a new manager in place in Arne Slot. I'm not as optimistic as everybody else is in terms of what may or may not happen with Liverpool, because again, I just don't know. So I'm not really in a position. I feel like everyone feels like they're in a position to be like, yeah, we're gonna do this. We're gonna be. I have no idea, and I don't think anybody has any idea. It is just more about optimism, and I get that, of course, because you want to be optimistic about your football club. You want to at least look at it and think, okay, we can at least do this, and if we play this formation, he can do that, and Szoboszlai can play in this position, whether it be centre mid, attacking mid, or he can play right wing, right midfield, whatever you want to kind of call it, left midfield, left wing, whatever. That's what we feel, right? That's what we feel with someone, especially someone like a Szoboszlai. But at the moment, I don't know yet, and I'm a man of substance, and I'll probably say that a few times throughout this video. But I am a man, who needs something to really see first before I can really just go out there, on a limb. And once I've seen it, then I can really put faith in behind, these kind of things, so that's how I kind of look at someone like Zaboza. Like, I think there is still a player in there. I don't think right now, of course, right now his stocks are low. I can only assume, but his stocks must be low at this current moment in time. I feel like now would be like the perfect time if this was Bitcoin, or if not even Bitcoin, if this was the stock market or whatever. His share price must be low right now, because right now he's not really at the forefront of many people's thinking. But I do believe there will be a player in there. Now, whatever he does under Arne Slot, of course, that will depend on both him and the manager in terms of the role that he's actually given. Heck, he might not even be given a starting role like he was, last season. So he may have to work his way in. Again, I don't know what Slot is even going to do, for next season. But at this current moment in time, I am looking at him and thinking, if he kicks into gear, I like, and this is me, guys. Yeah, just rock with me for a sec. I feel that if this guy can kick on, you have got a top player. You have got a top player, man. Honestly, like, you got a player who can kind of who can kind of play in all facets of the midfield position, whether that be defensively, whether that be in the attacking sense, whether that just be someone who can kind of just sit in the middle. Now, where I feel Szoboszlai is going to need to pattern up, and of course he's still, I say young, but he's young in terms of age, but in terms of football experience, he is quite experienced. Again, this guy is the Hungarian captain as well, so let's not act like this guy is just some novice in the game and stuff like that. No, he's very, very experienced. I don't believe in that, he's inexperienced because of his age, kind of thing. This ain't real life, this is football. In football terms, it's like dog years. Do you get what I'm trying to say? You call a dog 10 years old, he might be a little bit old. Do you get what I'm trying to say? So it's the same thing in football. It's all about the experience that you've had throughout your time, and he's had quite a lot of experience in the football game. He needs to get out of his own head, though. I think he needs to stop thinking that his shit don't stink. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, he needs to stop thinking that, he ain't, like, his shit ain't just like everybody else's. He needs to stop believing that. I get it, and I understand some players, you have that ego, you have that thing about you that you believe, and you should, by the way, you should believe that you are a good player. You should, at the end of the day, you're currently playing for Liverpool, you're Hungarian captain, and you've won trophies at RB Leipzig. So I'm not trying to say you sit there and have this inferiority complex. I get that, but you also need to humble yourself. I think that's probably the better way to say it. He needs to humble himself a little bit and just understand, okay, Fairs, I'm not as good as I generally thought. The Premier League isn't just as easy. I can't just, because he had those first, would I say, like 2 months at Liverpool when everything was, was great and it was fantastic for him, and shots were going in. He was playing well in the midfield and all of this kind of stuff. Because of all of that, I felt like he got into his own head a little bit too much, and then he left him in this position that, yes, he got himself injured, but even when he came back from the injury, he stunk. He absolutely stunk, to the point where you're like, nah, I need someone else in the midfield. We're all scrambling around. Oh, maybe Bobby Clark should play. That shouldn't never, ever be the case. Ever be the case. So, you don't see that at top clubs where they're saying, yeah, let me bring on the YG. Let me bring on the, the young guy, like, because this guy's not, no. Top players should be able to kind of almost pick up where they left off, so to speak. I'm not saying you got to keep performing at this great level, but you definitely need to perform a lot better than he did for the majority, of last season. So, yeah, like I say, he's still got things to work on, so to speak, but the fundamentals and everything, they are there. He didn't show it last season, I do agree, but I do believe that they are there enough in order for him to be able to kick on next season and allow himself to become the player that I believe he will become in the future. But that's Dominic Szoboszlai. Let's move on to the next player. Let's go on to this guy, Jarell Kwanzaa. Kwanzaa. Centre back. Last season, of course, his first season for Liverpool, breakout season, if you want to call it that. Of course, he had been out on loan the previous season and before that, but in terms of Liverpool, this was, of course, his first season. Really good centre back. I'll be honest with you, a really, really, really good centre back. He was definitely my surprise package for last season. Didn't think he was going to be that good. You know what I liked about him, and it's the same for another player who I've got on the list here. You know what I like about him? no one's going to sit here and say Van Dijk or Konate was shit last season. Konate, injury problems, yes, we know. But in terms of his performances, he wasn't shit or anything like that. And Van Dijk, of course, was Van Dijk, last season, one of the best, if not the best centre-back last season, or at least alongside the Gabriels and Salibas and stuff like that, right? But Kwanzaa came into the team, and it's not like he came into the team because these guys were shit. And I think and listen, you take the opportunity wherever you can take the opportunity, right? Like, listen, we all heard about his line about condolences to Matip and all that. We all bust joke about that and Fairs, but this wasn't a player who came in. Oh, this guy's been playing shit. Liverpool's defense been shit. I mean, it's Liverpool's defense under Jurgen Klopp has always been the way that it's kind of been. So I have to almost take context into that, right? When he came into the team, he came into the team where it was just more. I think someone got injured. I believe in, and I think he then come on and whatnot. And of course, he played Europa League games and etc. etc. But when he's coming into the team, he's just calm, like to the point where you're actually looking at it in some games, and you're actually like, oh right, like maybe we play Kwanzaa today, and then you can say like because Konate's injury issues that he had like for basically the majority of the season, and clearly it's continuing throughout the Euros and stuff. But because Konate had these issues, you were like, yeah, maybe we can play Kwanzaa in these games here, and then you can play Konate in these games against these type of attackers and stuff like that, because they might be stronger or faster and stuff like that. So that's where you want your Konate. But in most games, like, and especially towards the back end of the season, where Jurgen Klopp was playing Jarell Kwanzaa quite a lot, he looked comfortable. Like, he looked calm. Of course, listen, we all remember the mistake that he had against Manchester United. Outside of that, and I'm not going to go through everything that he's done throughout the season, because I know he's probably made more mistakes in the season. But when you look at it on the face of it, would you say, like, and again, this is the question for you guys, and let me know in the comment section, would you not say that he had a better season than a Konate? In my opinion, he did. In my personal opinion, he had a better season than Konate. So that already tells me he was Liverpool's second best centre-back last season, which then puts him in line to actually start the next season, which is obviously this season that we're coming into, right? Technically speaking, because he had a better season than Konate. He had a better season, 100%. 100%. When he was in the defence, nobody ever looked at that defence and said, oh, right, he's playing. The only time you ever looked at it like that was when it was Kwanzaa and Bradley playing, because, of course, inexperience. Two inexperienced players, two players who are still trying to, get up to this kind of level of football and etc. And obviously, Kwanzaa had already started before Bradley as well. So Bradley's really trying to get up, to this kind of level of football. But when it was like him and then maybe a Trent playing right back or whatever, you never really looked at it like that. He used to always do his thing, kind of thing. And, he's a threat in both boxes, whether that be defensively, again, in the attacking sense. He seems like he's cool, calm, composed, good on the ball, good at dribbling. And that was always something like I feel like he takes from both Matip and Virgil van Dijk. And then he started to take a little bit from Konate. I was like, yeah, don't take nothing from that guy. Like, he's got his own qualities. You know what I mean? He's got his own qualities. So leave him to do, what he does. He does that. He does what he does well. Do you get what I'm trying to say? So, but don't take from him. Take from Matip and Virgil van Dijk, because they were better defenders than a Konate. And you can take little bits, i.e. the bringing the ball out from the back. You take that from Matip. The being able to, pass and knowing when to make that long pass. You take that from Virgil. The cool calmness that you've got in your 1v1 defending at times. Of course, you can take that from Virgil, but also still having that kind of Matip-esque about you in your defending. I feel like he takes really from both of these players, so. And of course, he was very, very close to making that England squad for the Euros. Heck, England looking like they're going to need him now, especially with, Mark Gay going to be out for the quarterfinal game against Switzerland. So, yeah, man, like, I honestly, like, as you guys already know, like, it takes a lot for me to really sit there and think, nah, like, he was actually solid. Like, do you get what I'm trying to say? And when we talk about other young players in the team, and there's going to be a player that we're going to talk about later at the end of this, when we talk about other young players, there's a difference. Those other young players never really came in and commanded a place where you can say, nah, I'd rather actually he start. No one's done that. No one in recent seasons, no one's really done that, kind of thing. But he has, though. He's come into the team and you're like, maybe, and he actually looks good to me anyway. Again, just my personal opinion. He actually looks really, really good. So yeah, man, I'm definitely keeping my stocks, in someone like Jarell Kwanzaa, and I think you guys should. You should too. And again, and we saw the whole news with the whole Newcastle thing and potentially signing Anthony Gordon, but they wanted to include Kwanzaa in the deal. I saw the reaction from Liverpool fans, and I was like, yeah, 100%. Man ain't including Jarell Quansah. That's a myth. Like, if I was to do that, it would have to be a straight swap. I'm not giving you money on top of giving you Jarell Quansah. That doesn't make no sense, man. Like, he's a top player, and I think he's going to become a top player. Of course, how next season looks, it will all depend on Slot, because we're all hearing that we potentially might want to sign another centre back. So then that pushes him a little bit further down the pecking order, because then you're going to have Van Dijk, you're going to have Konate, you're going to have this new centre back, you're going to have him as well. How many games is he going to play? Like, I don't know how it's going to look next season. I really don't. You know, and it's all really hoping, like what it was for Klopp in the last season, that you progress far in these, you know, the FA Cups and the Carabao Cups and, you know, other little tournaments like that, then maybe, yeah, you can get some games kind of thing. Because I don't think you're going to get many games in like Champions League unless it's against like a really like poor team, so to speak. Then yeah, maybe you might be able to get a game or two, or Liverpool qualify early and whatever, then maybe you might be able to get that chance. But otherwise, this is where I am looking at some of the younger players anyway, the ones who are kind of on that fringe, where I'm like, oh, I don't know how much game time you're going to get, because again, I don't know what Slot's going to be about. I don't know, does Slot take these things seriously? Is he going to take the cup game seriously? He might not, and say, just play the youngsters and just, you know, I mean, I want to save my best players for the Premier League because I want to make an assault on the Premier League. I really don't know. So that's where I'm looking at some of these players that you can't let their their development stall. That's what Liverpool have done before, is that you'll give players all this game time in one season, then the next season they stop getting all that game time. And then it's just like, obviously I get it because it's for the greater good, right? If Liverpool are doing well without Quansah, you ain't going to care about Quansah. I promise you, you will not care, because the club is doing well, and that's what matters the most. But for their own development, if I'm talking about in relative context here, to these players' development, that's where I'm looking at it, and I'm thinking, eesh, okay, cool. Let's see, you know, what's up. But we'll wait and see. But yeah, Jarell Quansah definitely a player I would say, you know, keep your stocks in for. Let's move on to the next one. Next up, we have got Harvey Elliott. Now, I think with Harvey Elliott, the way I'm looking at him is, I think this season is going to be quite defining for him. And the reason, and he's the one that I'm taking a punt on. He's the one I'm looking at. Like, out of all the players that I'm thinking that I'm going to talk about or have spoken about, Szoboszlai or Jarell Quansah so far, moving on to Elliott, he's the one I think, okay, you know what? You could take a punt on this guy. It may work out. So you might not want to put too much money into, into Harvey Elliott. I get that. That's fairs, because it is, I think, a bit of a gamble. Obviously, last season, he was more of a bench player more than anything. You know, coming off the bench, having good performances. He seemed like he had his best games coming, you know, off that bench, whether that be in that midfield area, whether that be on the right wing or whatever. He always seemed like he was better coming off the bench than he was, you know, starting. So it kind of just depends on, again, as I said with Jarell Quansah, as I said, you know, for, you know, under Arne Slot, what does that look like for someone like an Elliott in terms of your game time? You know, again, we're all talking about, remember guys, there's only 10 outfield slots in the team, right? There's only 10 positions out there on the pitch. So we got to figure, and I know it's a team game. I get like, and everyone's gonna be like, oh, it's a team game. You got to play this guy. I get all of that. But there is a difference with some players, you know, especially when they're young players and they might not be necessarily up to the level of certain other players. There's only so much you're going to actually play. And then, of course, we got to then take into context, we don't know how the season's going to go. Like I said before, with Quansah, for all I know, Liverpool start off the season 10 games winning in a row with an 11 that does not include Elliott. Now, that means Elliott's not going to start games. Why would you start? Like, that doesn't make sense. I wouldn't start Elliott because the team are doing well without him. So don't try and change your winning formula, right? You know, you can bring them on and stuff like that. And maybe, again, League Cups and maybe against a poor team in the Champions League, that's where you can throw these guys on, etc., etc. But if the team is doing well without him, then he doesn't play. Guess what? His development starts to stall a little bit more because he's not getting the necessary game time that he probably feels he should be getting now. You know, he has been a fixture when he has been obviously available in terms of for Jurgen Klopp. Jurgen Klopp loved the guy. You know what I mean? He loved playing the guy. He loved bringing him on. He gave him such importance, you know, in previous seasons and stuff like that, you know, especially after his injury. So He was definitely a player that Jurgen Klopp respected, in my personal opinion. I always call him the class pet. He just always felt like it was that kind of energy. With someone, like a Harvey Elliott, right? But yeah, that's the way I kind of see Elliott, because, and it's great that you're versatile. I don't really know what position you will slot, no pun intended, you will slot into for next season. Again, like I said, we don't know what slot is going to do until we see this brother in pre-season. In fact, not even that. I'm talking the games, brother. Not even, forget training. Training irrelevant. I don't give a shit about that. Let's see the games first. Let's see where he plays some of these players. And even that might not even give you the indication that we want. You get what I'm trying to say? It may not even give you that. So again, we have to, kind of wait and see and stuff like that, in regards to that, in regards especially to someone like an Elliot. But I'm saying just take a punt on him. Like I said, don't put too much though. Like, don't put too much money into someone like a Harvey Elliott. I don't really know which way it may swing and stuff like that, but if it goes well, if it goes the way that we hope it would go for someone like a Harvey Elliott, bang, I promise you'll be in the money. But of course, it can go the other way. And at the moment, he's not a first team regular in my eyes. So then that does beg the question, where does he then play? Because he's not playing right wing, in my personal opinion. I don't think anybody is. I think that's Mo Salah's position, unless he's going to move inside and then you can play someone else there. Again, we have to wait and see what, Slot does. But let's just say, from what we know and what we think, so far with the little information that we do have, I feel like Salah will have that slot on the right. Okay, so Elliott doesn't play there. If he's going to play two in midfield, is he really going to be the, one of the deeper players? I doubt it. So then where does he play? Maybe number 10 position, potentially. That could be a position for him. Maybe, because I don't know what that number 10 position, if he's even going to use a number 10. For all I know, we're playing 4-3-3 next season. It's why I keep telling people, let's not even think that's not a possibility. We could easily end up playing 4-3-3 next season. So again, let's just wait and see. But I do think Elliott, just, don't put too much money. I'm saying don't waste your money in that. Not just yet, but put a little bit on there. And I think, it could potentially, pay dividends. Let's move on to the second to last player. And that is Trent Alexander-Arnold. Now, this one's an interesting one. Because I can only imagine his share price probably is high anyway, because it's Trent Alexander-Arnold. And he's been, largely fantastic for Liverpool throughout his years, right? But we don't know what position this brother's going to play. I don't know if he's going to be a right back or defensive mid or the centre mid or right wing. Heck, he might even play number 10, next year. I don't know. I really, really don't know with Trent. It's so tricky to judge. And I think this is another one, almost a bit like Elliott, where I'm like, don't put too much money on that one. Do you get, like he might be one because of the share price, it might not even look too great and stuff like that, but you might just want to you might, if you're just building a portfolio, you just put a little bit, on someone like a Trent, so to speak. But I don't know, because I don't really know what position he's going to play, as I said before. And I feel like until I know that, that's when I'll know whether or not to be putting your money into him, kind of thing. I think if it's midfield, then nah, I'm not putting my money into him like that. I feel like that might be a loot. Or if it's one that does pay out, ain't going to pay out for so long that you'll just think it was kind of a waste of time, so to speak. Or that's a long-term investment, so to speak. If it's right back, then yeah, I'll put my money into it, because I feel like that's his position. That's where he's been fantastic and stuff like that. But he is a bit of an enigma, if I'm being honest, because we don't know what position he's going to play. Of course, we've seen him play for England during this Euro campaign so far. He's obviously been playing in that midfield position. Whether you think it's been great or not, whatever, the proof's in the pudding at this current moment in time. He ain't playing right now. Do you get what I'm saying? So we've not really seen enough evidence to suggest that that's something we want to see moving forward. And I was hoping that was what we was going to see, during this Euros, because I wanted to see, I was like, you know what? I've been saying he needs to play right back. Quite a lot of other people prefer him to play in that right back position. But if you're going to play him, in that, right central midfield or DM, whatever kind of position that he's been playing in for England, then let's see it. Let's see what that looks like. And then maybe that'll give us a better indication. At the moment, I've still not seen it. And from what I have seen, even though obviously England have been absolutely dog shit, but from what I have seen, I'm still not really that impressed, if I'm being 100% honest with you. So, yeah, at the moment, I'm saying keep him at right back. If you keep him at right back, then this is where you can put your money, back into someone like a Trent Alexander-Arnold, because I think he will have a good season in that right back position. If not, it's up to you. Do you know what I mean? Like, it can go, and a bit like Elliot, it can go either way. It can either go amazingly well, and he just turns into this prime Steven Gerrard, for Liverpool, and boom, it's all of that, or he just becomes another Zabozalai, where you're like, yeah, he's all right. Do you know what I mean? You're like, yeah, he's okay. He's okay, kind of thing. So again, Trent Alexander-Arnold, that is one I'm more holding out. That's why I kind of left him a bit to last, because I'm kind of holding out. I'm hoping that you're just going to play right back, from now on, and you stay there. None of this inverting crap. Forget all of that. I don't know who you think you are. Play your right back position, because that's where you are your best, so to speak. But again, let's wait and see. And of course, the whole contract situation and stuff like that is still going on with Trent at the moment. Of course, he's at the Euro, so I know nothing's going to get done now. But let's hope by the time he comes back, he signs a new deal. But if not, which moves on to our next and last player, if he doesn't sign a new deal, you have got someone like a Conor Bradley there. Now, we've had this conversation about Conor Bradley before, in terms of, I still feel, obviously, I'm basing this on the fact that we're not going to buy in these areas based on what I've seen with Liverpool. So if we're not going to sign, Bradley is the guy that's there, right? Okay, fair enough, cool. I've not got too much of a problem, but I mean, if I could upgrade, I would upgrade. But if I can't upgrade and he is the guy there, I would say put some money into someone like a Conor Bradley. I think he's good enough, and I think his thing will depend on what happens with Trent. So again, you can put money into it. And again, I guess you might, obviously, it's difficult. This is why people who do stock trading and stuff like that, yeah, I always think like, right, they really must know their stuff in it. And obviously, but with football, it's always a bit more difficult, because I feel like that kind of market, that could change over. Obviously, I know anything can change overnight, right? Something could happen, to one of the businesses that you've invested in and stuff like that. But football is exactly kind of the same. Man could be fine playing banging, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 games. These times he falls down his stairs at yard. What? Now the guy's out for 4 or 5 weeks, and then when he comes back, he's gonna be shit. Like, bro, you never even know. Yeah, I mean, you actually just never know, innit? So, yeah, man. But yeah, with Conor Bradley, I do believe it is more of a case of, depending on where Trent is going to play, I think that will then determine what happens with Conor Bradley. If Liverpool are not going to improve on that area, and I've now, I've said I'll live with it. If you're not going to improve in that area, cool. Guess what? You have got Conor Bradley there. I think he's adequate enough. Have I seen enough to be that confident in him? Not yet. He's not a Jarrell Kwanzaa, in my personal opinion, where I'm like, yeah, I'm confident, I'm good. Like, you know what I mean? I don't mind him playing, kind of thing. At the moment, I'm more like, yeah, I don't mind Conor Bradley playing in maybe lesser games and stuff like that. Whereas Jarrell Kwanzaa, I don't really care what game you play against Man City for, like it, and I'm not going to be stressing so much about it. It'll be good to see him up against them kind of teams anyway, right? But Conor Bradley, I am a little bit like, yeah, I know he had a good little period, but then towards the back end again, before Trent obviously started to come in, he was a little bit, just started to fade a bit. All the hype that everyone gave him, just really started to fade. And like I said, of course, he's still new, he's still inexperienced in terms of football terms. So somewhat inexperienced. I mean, he is a Northern Ireland. I think he made his Northern Ireland debut before he made his Liverpool debut, which is crazy. But yeah, at the moment, I am like, you can put money in there. You can put a bit of money in there, but I think it is going to, really be down to what really happens with Trent Alexander-Arnold more than anything. And I think once we kind of know that, then you can be a bit more confident as to what happens with Conor Bradley. But I think that they're going to look at it as well. If I'm trying to get into the mind of Liverpool Football Club, I think they will just look at it and think, we don't need to sign another right back anyway, because we have Conor Bradley. So if you do have 2 right backs, i.e. Trent and Conor Bradley, we're good. We don't need to spend more money in that kind of area, considering we have got other areas in which, we need to address. And then, of course, you can give him a season. Now, give him a season, see how things kind of pan out, see how things work moving forward for Conor Bradley this season, and then take it from there. Again, like I said before, just like, Harvey Elliott, it will come down to how many games are these guys going to play, because you will end up stalling their development, so to speak, if they're not playing enough football. But hey, this is why Slot's the manager and I'm not. He's the one who has to make these tough decisions, and then, of course, take it from there. So that's obviously the 5 players. So I'll just quickly run through them again. So, of course, we've got Dominic Szoboszlai. I think it's going to have to be a real big season from him next season. Then we've got Jarrell Kwanzaa, very, very good player. I think he's going to have I hope he has a good season because I really do feel like he's a top player. Then we've got Harvey Elliott. We don't know. There's question marks in terms of not even really his ability, just where is he going to play? You know, it is going to be a bit tricky, but if he does play, I think he will have a big season. And of course, getting older, more experience in this top level, I think it will, you know, serve him well. Fourth, we've got Trent Alexander-Arnold, Mr. Right Back, Mr. Centre Mid, Mr. We don't know, but let's just wait and see on that one. And then last but not least, of course, we have got Connor Bradley as well. Now, I said to you guys before, there was another player that I did look at. We spoke about him. If you guys watch Endsman TV, we watched it yesterday. Was it Endsman? No, was it Endsman or was it on my show? No, sorry. I think it was on my show. It might have been on Enzo's show. I can't remember. But we were speaking about it yesterday anyway. No, it was on Enzo's show. We were speaking about it yesterday or the day before. And we're talking about Stefan Bajcetic. Now, I didn't include him in my 5. And the only reason why I didn't include him in my 5 is because the other 5 players that I've named, 3 out, so Harvey Elliott, Jarrell Kwanzaa, and Connor Bradley, right? Those 3 are already ahead of him in that pecking order in terms of their role within the squad, right? Because, of course, they've been playing last season. He's, of course, been injured and has been out for such a long time. Now, everyone keeps saying, yeah, he's doing preseason, None of that actually even matters. I think we have to, with someone like Bajcetic, yeah, he, for me, falls into more the Connor Bradley mold, in my personal opinion, as opposed to the Jarrell Kwanzaa mold, where you're not going to be mad if he started games, so to speak. Of course not, because I think he is a decent player, right? But you don't want him starting most of your games. I'll be super honest with you. I think we do overhype him quite a lot. I think his performance levels when he came into the team, I think that gets overhyped a lot, like quite a lot, because you've got to, like, context has to be applied in these kind of situations. The team was so bad. Anybody who just came in with a bit more exuberance about them, which he had, that you were immediately like, oh my goodness, this guy's amazing and he does this and da-da-da-da-da. I don't think he was all of that and a bag of chips, to be honest with you. I thought he was calm. I generally just thought, just like I said, like Connor Bradley, where I'm like, yeah, I don't think he's all that, but I think, yeah, he's calm. Yeah, I mean, he's a calm player. If we were to, like, if you were looking at all the youngsters in world football that you rate, whoever those players are, so from your Lamine Yamal, Jamal Musiala's to whoever's at the bottom of that list, I would love to know where Bajcetic would even place in that list. I do believe he'd be quite far down the list. Now, that's not a disrespect, because those other players are fantastic, world-class, you know, kind of players, and they all deserve the plaudits that they do get at this current moment in time. That's not to say that, you know, Bajcetic isn't a good player. I just don't think he placed anywhere near the top of that list, you know, kind of thing. You know, and that's where I'm like, I just think, as per usual, Liverpool fans, we overhype these players all the time, and then we get mad when they're not producing. Overhype Luis Diaz. Oh, he was amazing. And then all of a sudden, now everyone's crashing on Luis Diaz. And then they're giving you every excuse under the sun as to why this guy can't be the guy to do this, that, and the third. It's like, this is what happens when you overhype players. You know what I mean? Stop overhyping the players, and then you won't be disappointed when they reach their actual level of football, whatever level that actually might be. Bajcetic, of course, he's been injured, so who knows? He may come back in and whatever. But I think Liverpool's midfield next season is going to be so interesting to see, because really, there's only a 2-man. If he's playing the 4-2-3-1, there's only really 2 in there. So, and then obviously your number 10, he ain't playing number 10. So where's he now going to play? And we've got already however many midfielders. Now, I understand team game, right? And rotation and stuff like that. You're not going to rotate the way, like, people feel like we're going to rotate like the way that Klopp was doing it in his last season. But again, that was just more down to injury. I guarantee if players weren't getting these mad injuries that they were getting, Klopp wouldn't rotate. Klopp has shown, and obviously that was under Klopp, right? But just for a point of reference, when players were fit, they played. And to be honest, when you're a top team, when you're fit, you play. There isn't going to be this mad rotation. Like, I feel like the way people speak about rotation under Slot, it's like you feel like we're going to rotate from game to game. How do you do that? That doesn't even make sense. Who wants a team that rotates every single game? You don't want that. You never want that. That does not bode well at all. It gives players no rhythm, no time. Like, you need to have a solid team. Do I think he's Bajcetic makes that solid team? And again, I'm not saying he should, but does he make that team? No, he doesn't. So if he doesn't make that team, he becomes a rotational player. That's not a problem. He's still young, and I've got no issue with that. I would personally put him out on loan. Personally, because he's missed so much football, I would actually just put him out on loan because I don't see the point in keeping him here and just giving him a couple minutes here, a couple minutes there, and playing him in these flipping FA Cup third round against Carlisle. And I don't see the point in all that. I would actually say, you know what? You've missed such a large chunk of football. You need to kind of get back up to standard. Go out and play. Whether that be a Crystal Palace and whoever, just go out and play. Just go out and play and get those minutes back into your legs, and then we can take stock for next season. And that's why I never put him in the list, because I was like, I don't really know what happens to this guy. No one seems to know. All everyone cares about is that, oh, he's back in training. I'm like, what does that matter? Like, unless he's going to start, if he starts, then put your money there. Put your money in Stefan Bajcetic, 100%. Because I feel like then he will go on. If he's able to return back to a moderate enough level, then fair enough. At the moment, I just don't think he's at that level, and I think people have surpassed him now, and he's now in a position where, like I said, you got Conor Bradley and you got Jarell Quansah. He's not at the Jarell Quansah level. He's at that Conor Bradley level. You're like, yeah, don't mind him starting, but I'm not looking for him to start, so to speak, in my personal opinion anyway. Or even in the Elliott kind of mode where you're like, yeah, I don't know where he's going to play. I actually don't know where he's going to play. Where does he fit in, etc., etc. And again, he's still young, people. So I'm not trying to place any crazy, like pressure on him and stuff like that. Forget all of that, because like I said, he's not like those guys that we talk about, the Lamine Yamal, the Jamal Musiala. Even though Liverpool fans speak about him like he is, he's nowhere close to those kind of levels. He's not 16, 17, 18, 19, and he's at that level. He's not even close. So guess what? Let's bring it back down, Liverpool fans. Let's just humble ourselves, because we start to look embarrassing when we start doing all these kind of stuff, when we start saying all these kind of things, and then we're now beefing man over a stupid opinion. Forget all of that. Let's just bring it back down a little bit. Let's bring it down a peg. Let's understand where he's at. Let's not put too much pressure, which is what I hate. Keep putting too much pressure on these guys, and then when they don't produce, we're getting mad. Let him do his thing. For me, Bajcetic, go out on loan, bro. Go out on loan. Do your thing out on loan. No problem. Absolutely no problem. And I think that is the best thing for Stefan Bajcetic in order for him to potentially get up to a level, where he can, thrive and, push on. But that's why I never put him in my list, because again, like I said, I don't really know, necessarily what's going to happen, with Bajcetic. But yeah, like I said, those are the 5 players plus and one that I looked at, and I said, yeah, put money in these kind of players and, see what's up. Like, of course, Trent Alexander-Arnold, his stock is going to be high anyway, so to speak. So it may or may not, bear fruit potentially. But I think that will more come down to, his positioning and, things like that. But let me know, guys, of course, in the comment section what you think. Let me know which players you're putting some stock into for next season. I'm G. That's the video done and dusted. We out, man.